Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala khatam al-anbiya'i wa mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa ba'd. My beloved brothers and sisters, I begin with the greeting words of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And I bring you greetings from your brothers and sisters in the southern part of Africa. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would one day unite us together and would give us that understanding and give us that strength to take this message and make it a reality all throughout this planet. I also pray that one day you will hear the voices of another group of people. In Africa they are called, in southern Africa, they are called Khoisan. They are the Aboriginal people who lived in the lands before the colonial period. They also the Zulu and Swana and Xhosa and the Sotho. In this part of the world they are called Aboriginal. In North America they are called the Red Indians. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would empower these people and would guide them to the straight path. And then maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make them the nation that would give us the energy and the strength that we need to establish Islam in this century. Alhamdulillah, in coming to Islam myself after a long journey through American society, I came into a world, as many of you have come in, that has great contradictions. On the one hand, the world of Islam is a powerful world. There are Muslims almost everywhere on the face of the planet. In every major city of the world, you will now see masjids, you will see people in hijab, you will see Muslims establishing communities, even in the furthest outreaches of this planet. And Allah has willed that Muslims would make up over 25% of the earth's population. Over 60 million Muslims in China. In Europe, it is growing by leaps and bounds. On the African continent, Islam is the majority religion. The majority of African people are Muslims. In the United States, by the will of Allah, thousands of people are embracing Islam. And if you include the prison population that we include, because the prisons in America today have become another society. There are more people in jail in America than who go to college and university. And if you include this population, which in many cases are political prisoners, over 300,000 people embraced Islam last year alone. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, when we look at the economic potential of the Muslim world, you will see that if you looked at the top 10 rich individuals on earth, the majority of them are Muslims. We have great armies. We have infrastructure. We have intellectuals. But yet and still, we see humiliation on the ground. Although the armies of Islam lie within their military bases, we still have to watch on television children being gunned down in Palestine. We still have to watch rape and murder being used in Kashmir. We still have to watch in Chechnya Muslims killed in large numbers. We still have to watch Christians in Indonesia and other parts of the Muslim world slaughtering Muslims in their villages. But yet there are large Muslim armies. There are rich Muslim individuals. We are 25% of the world's population. Something is wrong. And we need to be honest with each other and very clear and straightforward with each other when we look at our own situation and when we look toward the future. And Allah tells us in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. O you who believe, have the consciousness of Allah and speak a straightforward word. He would repair your deeds and forgive you of your sins. And whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger has surely gained a mighty triumph. And so we need to speak to each other with qawlan sadida. Not just to say sweet nothings to tickle our ears, but we need to talk to each other from the heart. Not just from the mind, but from the heart. So I speak to you tonight not as a great scholar of Islam, not as a great alim, ulama, mufti, as a brother. Just as a brother who has been in the field with the people on the ground level, feeling the pain of the Muslim ummah. I speak to you tonight. It's a contradiction. In some countries, they have so much wealth that when they have the walima for the nikah, they throw the food away. Across the border, there's Muslims starving to death. And so, when the people are embracing Islam, when many of us are finding our Islam, because there are many Muslims who don't realize that they're actually Muslim till they turn 25 years old. There are many Muslims who are born in Muslim families, who saw Salat, who heard Shahada, but it's not until they reach 40 years old that they really embrace Islam, that they really make Salat because of their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they want to have the pleasure of Allah, and not just because my family makes Salat, or my people make Salat, or my father told me to make Salat. And so, when we are now re-embracing our Islam, there's a contradiction. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Hashr, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. O you who believe, have the consciousness of Allah, and let every soul look to what it has put forward for tomorrow, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is well aware of all that you do. And be not as those who forgot Allah, and so He made them forget themselves. Surely they are the disobedient ones. And so we see with the divine use of nasiyah, لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. زيادة الحرف, زيادة المعنى. With one letter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adds on the letter to the verb, and it says, don't be as those who forget Allah, He'll make you forget yourself. So you have money and you have poor people. You have armies, but you get humiliation in Philistine. It's a state of nisyan, of ghafla, of forgetfulness. Don't forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see this in the ayah. And when we look at Islamic history, you will see something that is different in other stages. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Many people look at Islamic history and they say, there is the Khulafa al-Rashidin. This, of course, is the prophetic period. And then is a kingdom, so they say, well, there's no Islamic history. The Muslims did nothing. But this is a mistake. Because in many points in Islamic history, the Muslims had izzah. And they were spreading Islam. And maybe in the center part of Islam, it was not up to standard. But they were on a different level than we are on today. In one example, one of the Khalifas, Al-Mu'tasim Billah, during his time, in the Abbasid period, a Muslim woman was captured by the Christians. And the word came to Mu'tasim. She cried out, Wa Mu'tasima! She cried his name. And the news reached the Khalifa. And so he sent a letter to the Christian king and he said, release the Muslim woman. If you do not release her, I will send an army to you whose beginning will reach you and the end will still be coming from me. When the Christian heard this, he said, Sam'an wa ta'a. I hear and I obey. There's nothing left, man. So he sent the Muslim woman back to the Muslim world with bodyguards, female bodyguards, to protect her along the road so she would make it safely back to the lands of Islam. This is a period that we say is not Islamic period, but look at the izzah that they had. Now today the Serbians, they rape 50,000 women. 50,000 women. This is unheard of in history, man. This is unheard of. And so we have to realize this, the gravity of the situation. And there are few points in history when the contradictions became like this. And so we cry for change. We cry for something to happen. But Allah tells us clearly, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change the condition of a people till they change that which is in themselves. And so the first major change that has to happen is an internal change. Because many of the problems that we have is not based upon Islamic politics, Islamic economics. You know, when Ramadan comes, in some places in Canada, in America, people say, oh no, Ramadan, man. We're going to have 2 Eids. In some places you have 3 Eids. You have that here? 2 or 3 Eids, man. Okay? So some people say, no, Ramadan is coming. No, man, you should be saying, Alhamdulillah, Shahr Ramadan. But they're angry and sad because of the ikhtilaf. So then we gathered all the Muslims together in Toronto. 250,000 Muslims. Gather all the leaders. They said, no, brother, the problem is ikhtilaf al-matali'. They have different horizons. That's the problem. But the problem was not ikhtilaf al-matali'. It was ikhtilaf al-qulub. It was the difference in the hearts, not the difference in the matla', not the horizon. Because the fiqh of Islam is clear. And if the leadership is united, then we take a form of the fiqh and we unite upon this and we make the decision and khalas, man. There's no problem. Everybody has dalil. So take one of the methodologies, establish it, and the community follows it, then there's no problem, man. But if the hearts are divided, then you will constantly see a problem, no matter what your fiqh is. So it starts inside the self. We have too much takabbur, arrogance, kibriya, this pride. Some people are proud because of their family. Some people are proud because of their color. Some people are proud because of their language, or proud because they have some money. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take all of that away from you in the twinkling of an eye. One moment we can be healthy, the next moment we can be on our back with our eyes glued to the sky. So what are we proud about? And if it was a family, if we're proud of our families, and we love the family of the Prophet ﷺ, but if it was blood alone, Abu Lahab was Hashimi. He had the most noble blood. But yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put his name in the Quran that he will burn in hellfire, even though he's Hashimi. So it's not blood alone. And so we need to look into ourselves, because sometimes it is the arrogance and pride that leads to tribalism. My tribe is better than your tribe. Some places they came to Canada, we had a large masjid with 1,000 Muslims, everybody's sitting together. What are we going to do? We're just going to follow Quran and Sunnah. It doesn't matter which organization you come from, which madhab you are, which nationality. Everything started to come to the surface. Some people came from the same village, and they said, I want to marry, and they say, no, we don't marry those people. They live down by the river, and we live on the hill. We don't marry them. They came to me from Somalia, and our Somali brothers know. I was in the masjid, there was 2 Somalis. I knew both of the brothers. After 3 years, the Somalis were the majority in the masjid. Now there's over 50,000 Somalis in Toronto. And so they began, the numbers began, and one day I give the khutbah. I was talking about Western Somalia, Ogaden, the Western Somalia region. And they came to me afterwards and they said, no, Brother Abdullah, this is a special joke for my brothers here. They said, no, Brother Abdullah, your mu'adhin is Darod. The Ishaq are in eastern Scarborough, the Hawiya and the western side. I said, brother, I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody has the same name, the same madhab, the same food, the same culture. What are you talking about, man? Then they said there's a group called Midigan. And nobody would marry from the Midigan people. Why would they not marry from them? Because a Darod, a Ishaq, a Hawiya, and a Midigani, they went traveling on a journey, according to one riwayah, and the food ran out. And so there was an ostrich, dead ostrich. So the Midigani, he ate the dead ostrich. So the other people cursed him until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So nobody will marry Midigan. It's almost like the untouchables in India. You know the untouchables, right? Nobody will marry the Midigan. Where does this come from in Quran and Sunnah? We were battling against this. Battling against tribalism. Battling against one nation and another nation. This is not part of Islam. Islam unites us and makes us love each other and come together regardless of color, regardless of nationality, regardless of tribe. Taqwa. That is the quality that distinguishes one Muslim from another. But takabbur, kibriya, this is one of the worst qualities of the shaitan. And that is one of the reasons why he would not bow down to Adam. You created him from clay. I am from fire. He was a racist. He would be one of the architects of apartheid in South Africa. The first apartheid. You don't want these people, man. They're made from clay. They jump and they fall down, man. I'm from fire. You see? He's a racist. So these concepts now, it's in the back of our minds. And you need to constantly fight against this in our hearts when we deal with each other and our organizations. We have too much hasad, jealousy, envy and jealousy. The Muslim gets a new car. They have a new baby. And so the other ones look at the car, they look at the baby, and they hate it. Now, it's one thing if you want a new car, that's okay. You want the new baby, that's fine. But if you want the new car and you don't want him to have the car, that's hasad. You hate the fact that he has something good. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْحَسَدْ فَإِنَّ الْحَسَدَ يَأْكُلْ حَسَنَاتِ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارُ الْحَطَبِ. Beware of jealousy. It will eat up your good deeds like a fire eats up firewood. You go to Hajj, you make Umrah, and hasad burns up all your deeds. You fast in Ramadan, it burns everything up. You give zakat, you give sadaqah, hasad burns it, destroys it. All the good deeds are ruined. Someone builds a new masjid, we don't like this masjid. We don't like that one. We don't like that imam. We don't like that jamaat. And hasad is something we need to fight against it in our hearts. You need to fight against it. We need to go back to the simple qualities in Islam of ta'awan, cooperation, love for our brothers, smile in the brother's face, man. Do the simple things of Islam and let us build from that level. Then we reach the dola, the iqtisad, the economy and the politics. Let's start on the ground level now with each other as Muslims, male and female, and protect each other's rights and care about each other, care about what is happening to the Muslims. It is reported that one day the Prophet ﷺ was sitting with his companions. They were in the masjid, and a man came down the lane and his beard was wet with wudu. The Prophet ﷺ said, that man is from the people of Jannah. Everybody said, SubhanAllah. Second day he came and he said, that man is from the people of paradise. The third day he came again. That man is from the people of paradise. So one of the Sahaba wanted to travel with the man, and so he traveled with the man and said, can I be with you 3 nights? And the man said, yes, you can stay with me. After the third night, he said to you, I have to tell you the truth. I didn't have to be with you. I'm not traveling. I just wanted to know, what do you do? What makes you different than us? I noticed at nighttime, when you roll over, you say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, when you rolled over. But I don't see nothing. You didn't even make tahajjud. I didn't see you give sadaqah in the middle of the night. What is different about you? And the man said, I do nothing different than you, except I don't hate anybody. I have no hatred, no hasad and jealousy in my heart. And I do not care about the property of the other Muslims. I have no desire for it. Then that Sahabi, Amr ibn al-As, or I believe, said, now you have told us you have something that we don't have. His heart was clean. His heart was clean. So I don't care how big your turban is, how long your beard is. If the heart is not clean, then the result is not going to be good. As the Prophet ﷺ said, there is a lump of flesh in the body. If it is good and repaired, the whole body is good. If it is corrupted, the whole body is corrupted, and that is the qalb. It is the heart. And so we need to look inside of ourselves. We have too much emotion, ghadab. Too much ghadab. Some people, it's one extreme or another. Some Muslims, they don't have enough ghadab. They see Islam attacked. They see their wife being, disgraced and looked upon and taught. They don't care, man. Their hearts are empty. Like. On the other extreme, they have too much emotion. And so if you have a different opinion than him, then they start to tremble and they foam at the mouth. If you are different than him, he says, I don't want to see him until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Baynani wa baynahu al-janaiz. Only between me and him is janazah. Finished. Why? Because he has a different school of thought. He moves his finger when he makes jalsa. That's your problem, man. One of the brothers came to me and he said in Toronto, can a Hanafi marry a Shafi? That's what he said, man. I said, what religion is this, man? Are you Jehovah's Witnesses or Catholics? What is this, man? The fuqaha were students and teachers of each other. Never forget that. All of them were students and teachers of each other. And they did not come to stand in the way of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We respect the work that they have done. We benefit from all of the volumes of work done in the sunnah by the imams. And we should never forget that either. But do not look upon another Muslim who is in Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah, who is following the straight path like he's in another religion or something. This is the way of the evil one, of the shaitan, who can now come into people and can actually trick you. This is the new war that is going on. And many people do not understand this. One of the great scholars of Islam, Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, rahimahullah, Minhaj al-Qasidin, he tried to look into the internal Muslim. And there are many scholars who have looked into the internal Muslim. This is a very important study, and I believe it's important for us today. And he found a very important issue. You know, every Jumu'ah, the Imam reminds you of taqwa. And within the khutbah of the Imam, he should at some point say, ittaqullah. If he doesn't say that, according to many of the scholars, the Jumu'ah is not complete. He must remind you of taqwa. So when the great A'imma looked at taqwa, they found taqwa is made up of al-khawf wal-raja'. It is made up of fear and hope. And fear and hope are stimuli. They stimulate you. If you fear something, you run from that. If you hope for something, you move towards it. And then they said, what is the opposite of this? It is ghurur. It is deception, illusion. كُلَّمَا يُغُرُّ الْإِنسَانِ مِنْ مَالٍ وَجَاهٍ وَشَهْوَةٍ وَالشَّيْطَانِ. Anything that will deceive the person from his wealth, from his position, from his desire, or from the shaitan himself, wal-iyadhu billah. Anything, and when you look at ghurur, it could mean illusion, delusion, vanities, deception. And this is the sophisticated attack that the shaitan, wal-iyadhu billah, is waging on the Muslim today. And we need to consider it. When we see so many Muslims and many masjids, you find, and I'm going to speak qawlan sadida to you, you'll find in the masjid one group fighting another group, and they go to the court, to the kafirun in the court, to have him solve the problem. Or they fight each other over who's going to be the president of the organization. Or they take the poor imam and they straitjacket him and they shut his mouth like he's in some Muslim country or something with some taghut ruling over him. He can't make a fatwa against the executive committee. And so these deceptions and delusions can trick the Muslims at this point, even though we are saying kalima shahada. This is the level that the war has gone on us today. And so when the great fuqaha looked at this ghurur, they found many interesting things. And I want to share some of them with you tonight. One form of ghurur is directly in hayat ad-dunya itself, right in the life of this world. And you will see Muslims caught up in hayat ad-dunya, striving and struggling to have a new car and a big house. And Australia is one of the places where the hayat ad-dunya can put you to sleep. It's so quiet and so nice, man. I have a house, I have 2 cars, I have everything. What more do I need? They used to call Toronto the Big Easy. The Big Easy. Because you go to Toronto, it's like Australia. You come from New York City where you're fighting just to survive, and you go to Canada and it's so nice, man, you just go to sleep. MashaAllah. But what did Allah say? وَمَا الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The life of this world is nothing but material deception. In Toronto, a man won the lottery. You have the Australian lottery too here. He won the lottery, $25 million. The people stood still and they said, he and his daughter, and the daughter drew the thing, they're in paradise. They're in paradise, man. What else they need, man? They won the lottery. But then, when the man came on television, he said, he had some sense. He said, may God help us. He knew something was wrong. The next day, they called his house. They wanted to marry his daughter. They wanted to start a business with him. They started knocking on the door. So the man had to take his family, change his address, and hide underground. So the money that was supposed to free him put him in jail. وَمَا الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. In Britain, a man won on the lottery approximately 30 million pounds sterling. And the whole society stood still. He's in paradise, man. What else does he need? And he began to eat food. And he ate food, and he ate, and he ate, and he ate, until he weighed 300 pounds, and he dropped dead. So the money that was supposed to give him life took his life. وَمَا الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The life of this world is nothing but material deception. Material deception. Another form of ghurur happens when people, it's through their families. Some people say, well, my father was a great Muslim. He used to pray Fajr every day. I don't have to pray Fajr. My father used to pray Fajr, man. I come from a family of great ulama. So he thinks he doesn't have to make Fajr. My mother used to give sadaqah. I don't have to give sadaqah. You see how the shaitan comes? Because he thinks his family is doing it. He's safe. But on Yawm al-Qiyamah, he has to face Allah alone. And his father is not going to be there with him. His father will take hasanat from him if he can. He's deceived. Other Muslims are deceived by their hasanat and their sayyi'at. Their good deeds and their bad deeds. He wakes up in the morning, he makes istighfar 100 times. And then he says, well, khalas, I'm finished for the day, man. I made istighfar. I'm all right. Then he scandalizes his brothers. He talks against the imam. He causes confusion in the community. But he thinks because he made istighfar 100 times, that the sayyi'at means nothing. He is deceived. Because the Prophet ﷺ clearly said, La yadkhulul jannah namam, that the one who carries scandal will not enter paradise. I don't care how many istighfars you make. If out of that mouth comes namima, backbiting, swears, scandalizing, hatred, then you are deceived. That person is deceived if they think those hasanat will defeat the sayyiat. There's another form of ghurur. We want to take this a step further now. And many of the ulama, they took it to a high level now. There's a form of ghurur where the people actually can tell you which ayah talks about ghurur. They tell you the hadith, but they don't think it applies to them. Because maybe he's an imam or maybe he's a scholar, so, oh, that doesn't apply to me. This ghurur, this kibriya, this pride, I need this because I'm an imam. So I must be proud. You see, that's deception, man. But they can tell you where all the ayahs are, all the hadith, they can tell you where everything is, but they don't put it into their own life. Another form of ghurur, which we have in America, and in South Africa to a certain extent, I don't know what the situation is here, there is a form of ghurur where the people spend their time, they focus on aspects of Islam, and they don't focus on the other part. Like for instance, some people now, and this is how sophisticated shaitan is, wa'iyadu billah. He spends all day in makharaj al-huruf. He wants to read the Quran with tartil. So he spends the time on the makhraj. He wants to get it perfect. But he doesn't follow what the ayah is saying. He reads it beautiful, but he doesn't practice. He is deceived. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the time would come when people would read this Quran with beautiful voices and it wouldn't pass their throats. Doesn't go to their hearts. Another form of ghurur, which is happening, is that the people focus on argumentation, ilm al-khilaf. And so he comes into Islam, he's talib al-ilm, and he learns how to argue with fiqh. Or he argues with points on you tafsir. And so he learns how to argue and to fight and to put you down and to defeat you in an argument, but he doesn't even know the basic things about his own faith. He hasn't even purified his heart from the diseases that he has within himself. But he can argue against you, he can tell you all the things. And the Prophet ﷺ said in authentic hadith, reported in At-Tirmidhi, مَا ضَلَّ قَوْمٌ قَطْ بَعْدَ هُدَى إِلَّا أُوتُوا الْجَدَلِ. People would not go astray after guidance, until they were given the ability to argue with each other. Jadal, jidal, husuma. How much time do we spend on this? Arguing over fiqhi points, on furu', arguing with each other about it, and people are dying in the Muslim world. They are dying. If we're in the middle of a battle and the bullets are flying and people are dying and another Muslim is next to you, are you going to say to him, brother, what madhab are you? Or do you have a madhab? You're going to ask him about his madhab. We are in a war right now. We're in a hot war. Muslims are dying in Palestine, are dying in Chechnya, are dying in many parts of the Muslim world. There's also a cold war, which is trying to take the minds of your children. They have now entered into our houses. When the French colonial armies and the British colonial armies and the Dutch and the Italians in the 1880s, when they had the Berlin Conference and they divided up the world, you take this piece, I will take another piece. and they divided up zones of power. Each colonial power then set their forces into the area to conquer the people. But the armies of the colonial powers, usually, in most cases, they could not enter into the houses of Muslims. They control your government, they control your economy, but they're not going to go into your bedroom, man, and tell your wife what she's supposed to do. They let that go. Especially the British, they're smart, man. You keep your salat, man, make salat. Just pay taxes to me and submit to the Queen. And you're okay. The French go a little bit further now. They want you to be French. Okay, and so you got to be a francophone. And they'll change your lifestyle too. But still, there's only so far they can go. Now, with the new technology, with the television, they'll penetrate your bedroom. And while you're out in the masjid making salat, or you're in the path, that tube is in your bedroom, teaching your wife and teaching your children forms of fahisha that we have never seen this stuff before. Teaching them this in your bedroom. Teaching your children another lifestyle. And it is coming to pass in front of our eyes. I asked the children today in the Islamic school. I did it too. We were in Durban, the Lockhart Islamic College. 300 mothers were there. 300 girls were there. I did the same thing today in the Islamic school. How many parents do you know a person named Eminem? Parents say, well, I don't know Eminem. You know, in America there's a candy called M&Ms. Then I said to the children, how many of you know Eminem? They all say, yeah, Eminem. We know Eminem. You know who Eminem is? He is a madman, a majnoon. A young Euro-American rapper using the Afro-American tactics of singing and the music, and he is saying things you would not believe what he says. He swears, he curses, he'll kill his mother, he'll talk about anybody. Anything comes in his mind, he's going to say it. But it sounds good because the rhythm. See, the rhythm is there, right? So they catch them with the rhythm, and they pump confusion into the minds. You see? And so this is something we have never experienced before in our history. They are in our bedrooms. So when we are talking about Islam now, we need to look at this as a total way of life. Starting with ourselves, then with our families, and then with our communities. I want to look at 3 points in conclusion. Number one is Tawheed. And that is the oneness and unity not only of Allah, but we can take Tawheed a step further, the oneness of humanity. Stop looking at each other as different races, like you're different types of human beings. We are all from Adam, and Adam is from clay. And realize the best amongst us is the one who has taqwa. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin or the language that you speak. So the inclusion of all Muslims into our brotherhood, into our sisterhood. Also, knowledge. Seek knowledge anywhere in the world. Bring that knowledge into Islam and use the Quran and the Sunnah as your guide to judge whether you use the knowledge or you don't use the knowledge. Secondly, tahara, purity. One of the great lessons that we can take to this world today is purity. Taharatul i'tiqad, purifying your belief systems. Get your relationship straight with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if we're not straight with Allah, everything's going to go wrong. Secondly, taharatul badan, purify your bodies. Also teach the people in society the purity of the relationships. That is the real crisis with AIDS, with HIV. This is the real problem. The problem has nothing to do with African people and a green monkey in Africa. They say it came from Africa and they spread it. The same way they used to say in America, whenever somebody gets sick, they say Hong Kong flu, Taiwan flu, right? Like all the flus come from Taiwan. That's racism, man. This disease probably came, and Allah knows best, it's homosexuals, man. Male homosexuals. And they're marching in the streets, and because of their filthy practices and what they are doing to each other, and they're doing it openly, as the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا ظَهَرَتَ الْفَاحِشَةِ فِي قَوْمٍ قَطْ يَعْمَلُ بِهَا عَلَانِيَةً إِلَّا ظَهَرَ فِيهِمُ الطَّاعُونَ وَالْأَوْجَاعُ الَّتِي لَمْ تَكُنْ فِي أَسْلَافِهِمْ. Whenever sexual immorality appears amongst a people, and they do it openly, there will also appear amongst them diseases and famine. They never knew this in the past. I was in New York City one day in a place called Manhattan. After Fajr we were resting. There was a huge sound outside, a big crowd of people. So I turned to the brother and I said, what is this, man? Is this the workers marching for their rights? Are these the poor people standing up to the government? He said, no, man, this is Gay Pride Day. The homosexuals were out in the streets, thousands of them. So we came downstairs. I had my kufi on and I had my top, and we went to the street corner, and this one, he came to me and he said, you're strange. And I looked at the brother, I looked at him, his hair was like blonde, it was like a chicken, man, like a rooster. Like this, man. He had on a net shirt, cut off pants, big boots, a chain around his neck, and he said to me, you're strange. I looked at the brother and I said, Saddaqa Rasulullah. Bada al-Islam gharib, wa sayaudu ghariban kama bada, fatuba lil-ghuraba. Islam started strange, and it will return strange. So give glad tidings for those people who are strange. They're marching in the streets, and they're serious, man. They're going to take over everything unless you make a stand. In Canada, they came openly. They marched in the streets, 500,000. Marching in Toronto. Your cousins are there. You think Toronto's a nice place, right? Everybody wants to go to Toronto. The mayor of the city with 500,000 homosexuals marching in the streets. The businessmen marching with no clothes, with briefcases. And they said, we're queer and we're here. And we're not going away. That's what they said, man. We said, oh, is that right? Well, you got a punishment waiting for you. They're dropping dead from AIDS. But they said, we're standing up for our rights. And they want to take us all down with them. What happened in Toronto? And I pray this never comes to you, but it may come eventually. The homosexuals, they usually have a section of the city that they hang out in. And they pick each other up. So what happened in Toronto, it was racism. All the brown homosexuals found themselves together, because nobody wanted to pick them up. And then the Muslim ones, they gathered together in a community center, and the government gave them a grant. The government gave them money. That's what they'll do, man. So they said, you are a minority within a minority. So they came to me and they said, Brother Abdullah, this is a true story from their magazine called the Now magazine. They call me up and they say, we want to have our own organization now. So they put out this magazine, and they call themselves Min Alaq. You know, they always talk about these blood clots and Min Alaq. That's what they call themselves. They call themselves Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, Islamic Support Group. We said, what is this? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What is this, man? They said, we want a new tafsir of the story of Lut alayhi salam. We want a new tafsir. Change Surah Al-Hud. We want new tafsir. Okay? Then they said they want to have their own center. They did it with the Jews. They did it with the Christians. And they're coming, man. They're coming to us. And they said they want their own center. But alhamdulillah, the community took a stand. And I told them, they said, what is the Islamic position? And I said to them, you put my name in your paper. the Islamic position is death. And I'm not going to change Islam. You know what happened though? He said to me, what happens if a homosexual comes to your masjid? That's serious, man. And he wants to take shahada. What are you going to do? That's a serious question. I said to him first, Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'an. Allah forgives all sins. And in truth, a homosexual came to my office one day and he started crying. So I said, what's wrong with you, brother? And he said, I'm a homosexual, man. I said, okay, what happened to you, man? And he said, my father abused me. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Muslim community. He said, my father abused me. So I felt sorry for this brother, man. And I said, do you know that you're sick? He said, I'm sick. So we make a dua for him, send him to a Muslim psychiatrist, man. Okay, try to deal with the brother. He wanted to change his life. This is what is happening in our community. And when this globalization comes, and this television comes, you will see the programs. It is now including homosexuality as a regular thing. You're going to see it in front of your eyes. And your children will start to say, well, what's wrong with it? In the public school, they say, it's alternative sex life. What's wrong with you? It's natural. We're born like this. That's what they say, man. But they have no primary evidence to show that a person is born like that. If you have a lot of female hormones, you're still a man. You can still get married, man. If the girl is very masculine, we call tomboy, you get married still, man. You can still get married in Islam. But they see you and they turn you out. They change you around. And so it is changing the society. And Muslims are going to have to take a stand. And it's not enough to call names. We have to show Islam alive in the land. Alive in the land. In the streets. The public has to know about this. It cannot stay in the masjid. It has to go to every home in this country. The people must know what Islam is. Because that is one of the greatest problems. It's ignorance. They don't know what Islam is. And if we don't teach them what Islam is, they're going to watch the movies. And what is the role of Muslims in the movies now? Terrorists. Right? Hostages. Take the hostages. And then you got everybody chasing you, right? This Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these guys from Hollywood chasing Muslims, man. And the only way we're going to get out of this with Hollywood, there's a new enemy coming on the scene now. And hopefully, inshallah, they hurry up with this, man. You know what the new enemy is going to be? Aliens. It's aliens, man. So if they get more afraid of aliens than Muslims, then maybe they'll leave us alone in Hollywood. But the situation in Palestine is so serious right now on the ground. It's going to be a long time before it's happened. But it is moving and moving towards a very serious change in the world today. And we are part of this change. We need to first change ourselves and then for the society. Tawheed, Tahara, Al-Amru bil-Ma'ruf, Wal-Nahy al-Munkar. Calling to the good and forbidding evil. This is one of the great things that we can do for this society. When the drug dealers come in our area, you need to stand up against the drug dealers. In our area in Cape Town, in Surrey Estate, a couple months ago, drug dealers move into the site. Our imam there, they don't play around there, man. The imam, after Salatul Maghrib, he said, I want 50 brothers. We're going to the drug dealer's house. We made our sunnah, and now we did the second sunnah. Al-Amru bil-Ma'ruf wa-Nahy al-Munkar. We marched with our turbans and kufis. We marched. That was a serious jola there, man. That was Gersht. We marched to the house of the drug dealer. And we told him, you got 3 days to get out of this area. If you don't get out, we're going to take your house apart brick by brick. You got 3 days. Okay? And alhamdulillah, he was gone, man. So we clean our area out. 24-hour patrol. If you have a problem in your house, You call the brothers in 5 minutes, the brothers, armed to the teeth. They're at your door. What's wrong, brother? They're at your door, man. Okay? And the same thing would happen if you're fighting in your own family. That's another stage. And in New York City, in some Jamaats, they will even come to you if you have a fighting in your family, and they'll help to straighten it out. That's the relationship we need to have with each other, man. And the relationship we need to have to this society. So we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us the strength and give us the ability to take this message to every home, every part of this country. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our hearts and protect the women and the children of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah raise up a Khalifa to rule the Muslim world according to Sharia. May Allah bring this time quickly to this ummah. And may Allah give us the strength to be with this Khalifa and to stand with Islam when the time comes. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. About smoking tobacco. Okay, I'm not a mufti. I'm trained in dawah. That's really my field. But from my understanding, and Allah knows best, Sheikh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, rahimahullah, he gave out a fatwa concerning it. Because in the past, you know, many of the scholars considered the smoking of tobacco as being makruh, as being a hateful thing. But really, when you look at the tobacco itself, now the Surgeon General has come very clear, and it says that smoking is dangerous to your health, it's killing you. And so we know that the Prophet ﷺ said, La dara wa la dirar. You don't harm anybody and you don't harm yourself. So if there is something that is harming your body, it's killing you, then it now becomes, you know, it takes you to another level. Secondly, it's israf. That's a question there. It's israf, it's a waste. It's a waste of money. What does the cigarette do? There's no waste. Thirdly, when you come inside the masjid, in the same way you should not come to the masjid after you eat onions or garlic, the smell of the tobacco harms the brother who's making salat with you. See? So based upon this and other understandings, a fatwa many of the scholars are taken today, it is haram. It is actually haram. And I firmly support this fatwa because it's killing us, man. And the cigarettes that they don't use in America, they send it to you. And when they make the cigarette, they put other chemicals. There's like hundreds of chemicals inside the cigarette, man. You're not smoking just tobacco, you know. You're a drug addict. They put all kinds of chemicals inside of that thing to keep you addicted to the cigarette. See, so it is an addiction. And the sooner we look at it as an addiction, the better off we are. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. Okay, there's a question here concerning Afghanistan. Is a Muslim state and does it run under Sharia? And to be honest with you, from my dealings with the people of Afghanistan, may Allah help them and give them strength. You know, unless you're inside of Afghanistan, you don't really know what's happening. I learned this before. And that's one of the parts of the world you don't make statements about if you don't know what you're talking about. Now, we know that the Taliban, during the time of the jihad, they weren't a major organization in the jihad. They came after the jihad. But there was problems that happened inside of the leadership, and you know, the struggle went on amongst themselves, and they are ruling. So the reports that I get, you know, you can't follow the press, because the press will always talk opposite against Islam. Many people have come back and said the rule in Afghanistan is peace in the land. In many parts, the Sharia is established in the land, in many places. Some negative things are also coming out of there. So really, you would have to get somebody who knows the situation on the ground in Afghanistan, and we have to make dua for our brothers and sisters, that Allah would help them, because they're under sanctions. And you know, when these sanctions come on a country, it's almost like the Quraysh, that boycott they did on the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca. It's like sanctions. So whenever you see a country that is under sanctions, you know, to a certain extent, they're doing something right. There's something right that they're doing, man. Why that sanction? You look at the countries in the Muslim world under sanction, and you will see these countries have the greatest potential to move towards Islam. Everybody is moving towards it. Nobody, it appears at this point, really has totally established it. But inshallah, we have to pray that they would be able to do that. And to get details, you'd have to ask somebody on the ground who's actually been in Afghanistan, wallahu alam. It says, what country would you recommend that Muslims move to that they would be beneficial for their Islam? You know, we used to say before in America, you got to leave America and you got to go to the East. The problem is that in these so-called Muslim countries, you know, before, your visa is your shahada. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's a visa, man. Now you go to the country and they say, you ta'shira, visa, ta'shir to dukhul. You need a visa for 2 weeks, a visa for a month, in a Muslim country, man. Okay? So you can't even stay in some of the countries. And so really, innal arda lillahi, this whole earth is for Allah. And wherever you can practice your Islam, and you can hold on to the faith and raise your children as Muslims, plant your flag in that place, man. Plant your flag. Maybe inshallah, Allah would raise up a country that would, you know, be able to have the rule. Now, naturally, the more Islam that is practiced is the better. One of the brothers asked a question about politics. And so he said, I remember listening to a tape, Sheikh Nasruddin al-Albani rahimahullah. So they said to him, I can't go to my country because politics. So he said to the brother, okay, it's a Muslim country, Muslim-based country you come from. He said, yes. He said, in your country, in Canada or America, are you involved in politics? He said, no. So if you're not involved in politics there, then go back to your own country and don't be involved in politics, man. At least you can make salat. You fast in Ramadan, your children will be Muslims. In some of these countries, man, your children will turn around on you and curse you. And you don't even know why. So it may be better to live in some of the Muslim countries, you know, with fascism, but at least we're around Muslims, and we don't have running water and electricity, but at least people are Muslims, and la ilaha illallah, we die, man. That may be better. But I can't make a decision for each person. Wherever you can practice your deen, plant your flag. Sometimes you find more Islam outside of the Muslim world than inside. So it's not a clear situation anymore. But obviously we prefer to be in the Muslim majority areas. And where Sharia is established, we want to be inside that place. And if you can go to a place where Sharia is even 60% established, 40% is better, you may be better off in that place. But each person has to make istikhara and make the right decision that they have. I'm going to stop here because of the adhan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wal 'asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat. Wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa akhir da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.